morning and welcome back to the show. We're here with senior football captain and just last week's Thanksgiving speaker, Cris Shemo. How are you, Chris?
Pretty good, pretty good. Happy to be here.
Thanks for being on.
Well, it's great having you on here. You're a really interesting kid. We're going to get through a lot of the impressive things that you've done during high school. But what has your journey been like to U.S. and to this point?
I would say, I've been in U.S. since I was in sixth grade. Transferring from like a different background in like a completely different school area, I would say it was hard at first, just making friends and trying to find a new identity for myself because it was very different. I had to adjust to some of the new things, that the school had to offer. And it took a lot of time and, it's had to be patient. So my mom always told me just be patient with it and, everything will fall into place. And I would say like starting my high school career, I started making more friends and getting my name out there. But, I still had this little kid mindset to where, I was still, kind of joke around and just like not take school as seriously, as I was supposed to. So coming to, into senior year, I really wanted to find a new identity for myself. And, I was putting myself more out there and just trying to spark change in the school and, for myself. So, being able to speak Thanksgiving, gave a good, pretty solid senior speech about, men's mental health and becoming a football captain, just leading a young team, really all help towards that goal of shaping a new identity for myself. So, yeah.
And which school did you come from before U.S.?
I went to Citizens Academy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't have the stereotypical story that most people might think of when they think of U.S., right?
Yeah.
Have you felt like you've been able to find your place at U.S.?
I think I've definitely found my place at U.S. I would say it's always hard, or it's still hard to really, fit in because, I am different than, a lot of other kids here. So I kind of always got to, remember that, when I'm going about my day at U.S. But just on like an overall aspect, I've definitely fit in because U.S. definitely offers places and, spaces for everyone to fit in. You just got to find that. So, it's 50-50.
Let's go to the beginning of the year where I really kind of started to know you. You had your senior speech,
Yeah.
which, by the way, was great.
Thank you.
But I remember that speech so well because it really highlighted the maturing process and your journey that you've been going on since your childhood. For the listeners who weren't there to listen to it, could you tell us what the goal of that speech really was about and how do you think that's really applied to your life?
Yeah, so my sophomore year, I got diagnosed with depression and anxiety. So that kind of shifted like everything for me, I was raised in a pretty feminine, household, but I really lacked that masculine stereotype that, a lot of kids or a lot of male kids should have, or quote unquote should have. So being diagnosed with that and just like this idea of just, I'm going to be sad some days for no reason and I'm going to, handle things a lot differently to other people. Just having that in the back of my head just it always felt weird and I had to like, grow into it. So, like my senior speech, these last 2 years has been me just getting used to, having that. And that's part of my identity now. So I just wanted to embark change and, really, speak to the student body as a whole, just to, let the male, population of our school know that, it's okay to be vulnerable and, speak about mental health because we are affected. We're still affected. Just because we're men doesn't mean we're not affected any different. Like, we still hurt. We still can get emotional. We should be able to, express that. So that's just what I wanted to highlight in that speech overall and just tell my story as well. Just, give a huge example of being vulnerable, but also show that it's okay. And that's what I want to do.
There is a certain ideology of like men shouldn't show emotion, right?
Yeah.
And you're a big advocate for breaking down that barrier. What have you found? Like, is it freeing for you to share your emotions? Is it like, what is the importance of young men showing their emotions?
Yeah, I think like it's obviously like it's very important, like you said. We as men, we go through a lot, and we should be able to express how we feel no matter what. And in order to do that, we all got to be on one accord. We can't have some men in certain areas feeling like or spreading information saying like we should be this, we should be that, because social media is a huge part of this whole thing. Like I grew up watching, like bodybuilders and stuff like that, and it was always like, push till failure, grind, do this, no one's gonna do it for you. And there's, other men who, deal with, mental health issues who are like, like you guys can cry, you can, talk to someone, like you can do this. And both, both men can be successful, but I feel like if, men just start breaking down that barrier of, thinking we all have to be masculine and, change will really be brought into this world. And, obviously like, suicide rates with men's mental health is like really high, compared to women. And, we just, we got to change that somehow. So just the idea of just, just speaking your mind, we should be able to do that and be free to do that. So yeah.
Can men be tough and be vulnerable at the same time?
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. I'm gonna use me as an example. I'm still tough when I want to be, like when I'm in the weight room lifting, like, I'm tough. I would say that on a football field, I'm pretty tough. But, when we lose football games, I cry. If I fail a PR, like I get mad. Like it's, like there's a balance. You got to find a balance. And there's like a line. You can't just, like shield all your emotions and just like keep it inside, because that's when it gets bad. So you got to be able to show it.
I'd say deadlifting 525 is pretty tough.
Yeah.
Another thing we kind of want to talk about was your time playing football, and that's kind of where I really got to know you. A great example of that maturity that you brought was that you did not start the season as a football captain, but you were able to gain that title by the end of the season. What has it been like playing US, and what was it like gaining that like captain title?
Yeah, I think it was just all a part of this identity I wanted to uphold, and start for myself, I guess. My junior year is when I got like a decent amount of playing time, but then I stopped playing. Going on varsity second half of the season. And, it was my senior year, like time just went by so fast. And I was like, dang, like, it's my last ride, I got to go. So I spent the whole offseason just trying to, one, inspire myself to stay more committed, because that's always what my coach told me, like you can do this well, but you just got to be, 100% committed. And that was just my goal, just be committed to the program, but also to myself, because being, whether I'm a captain or not, being one of the leaders on the team is, you're a senior, you're the leader regardless. And the underclassmen are going to look up to you, and look at you. So, that was just my goal. And then once I got that captain role, it just, everything that I thought about myself just came true. Like I felt like I was a captain. And, obviously the coaches saw that. I just had one more step I had to take and, mature a little bit. And, I got named captain. And I feel like it was very good, on my part, and that the coaches were able to recognize that, I've shown, some leadership, attributes and everything. So, yeah.
Have there been any mentors that have showed you how to lead younger kids?
I've had a lot. I would say my real inspiration, I would say, is Fanon Miller. He graduated last year. He took me under his wing my sophomore year when I started throwing for track. And he just, taught me the way. And, we had our ups and downs because, throwing is, pretty hard. And he was really good at it. So just, I always looked up to him and looked for his advice and see how he did everything. And it was just like one big example. He took me under his wing and taught me how to do this and how to be like this. And I just used that after he graduated, just continued to use that, and just wanted to be like him. So I would say he's like my big mentor in that case. Yeah.
Are there some teachers or maybe some like even classes that you went through that like really taught you something or like showed you kind of the way that you talk about that Fanon kind of gave you?
Yeah, I would say Mr. O'Brien's class. I had him freshman year and last year. He's seen the best and the worst of me. So, he can really, talk about this. But his whole idea was just, do the work and you'll see results. That was like the overall thing I got from his class a lot. On top of, talking about mental health and everything. Like his class was not just English. Like it was, in a way, a life class. He always taught lessons every day about just life, not just English. So I would say Mr. O'Brien's definitely been a huge mentor, especially with me trying to be more vulnerable and getting, spreading awareness to men's mental health. He's been a big advocate for that as well. So, yeah.
You were able to teach us another life lesson in your Thanksgiving speech, and I know that stuck with a lot of us. So how and when did you find out you were going to give that speech?
I was talking to some of the prefects because I kind of wanted to speak at graduation too. It was between Thanksgiving and graduation. And Jackson Penny actually came up to me and he was like, would you like to talk for Thanksgiving? And I was like, yeah, I'll do it, I don't mind. And then like about like a week later, Mrs. Coy like pulled me aside, you know, in her office. I thought I was in trouble, and I was a little scared. But then she was like, "Yeah, like, you know, like you're giving the Thanksgiving speech. Like, would you like to do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, like absolutely." And you know, it was a big surprise, but I was also happy because I already had an idea in my mind of what I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to have like this creative aspect of, you know, having the thankful as an acronym, and you know, everything, you know, fell into place. So yeah.
You know, why do you really choose that like thankful acronym? Honestly, it didn't really even hit me until you started going through it at the end. I realized, wow, like you kind of built the whole thing into the acronym. Where do you get that idea?
Honestly, I don't even know. Like, it just hit me because I was really thinking about my graduation speech. If I was to give one, and I wanted to talk about legacy, and I was gonna have that as an acronym. But then, you know, I feel like Thanksgiving is really huge. This idea of like gratitude, and we had a focus meeting I think earlier the week before talking about gratitude as well. And I was like, I think it's like the perfect opportunity to really highlight everything like that we talked about in the focus meeting about, you know, being grateful for the little things as well as the big things, the good and the bad. So I wanted to, you know, think like what are some words that could highlight good and bad when being thankful, and acronyms, put it all together, and you know, I guess it worked out. So
What did you want to talk about at graduation about legacy? You could share it
legacy,
here.
just the idea of that, you know, everyone has their own legacy, and we can always break the shadows, or you know, like some of our mentors cast a pretty big shadow on us, and we can always break that and leave our own legacy. So my whole idea, you know, if I was to speak at graduation, is talk about how we can leave a lasting impact on this school, but you know, someone's life in general, you know, not just yourself. So yeah.
You know, another thing I kind of want to talk about, and you brought it up with your when you were thinking of making this speech, but like your involvement with Focus, right? And for our listeners who don't know, that's the Fellowship of Christians at University School. But pretty much, I think what I wanted to talk to you about is your faith and kind of like how it's been important to you, because obviously all three of us have gone to Focus, but like how has that really guided you and your path?
Yeah, I've been I in a way I grew up in church. My grandmother on my dad's side, she's very religious, so whenever I went to go see her, always went to church. And I grew up in church. My mom used to take me to church when I was younger, with some of our like my godparents and everything. But I didn't really understand it. You know, in a way I didn't really understand, you know, how it all worked. I just knew, you know, like, you know, you die, you go to heaven. That's what every little kid thinks about. But there's like a lot of like other factors, you know, into that. And as I got older, I really realized how life hits, you know, someone, and, you know, like what we do to, you know, kind of combat that, but also, you know, like just, you know, play with it a little bit. And I would say like these last like 2 years, I've gotten really, you know, deep in my faith. Cause like, I feel like, and I've talked about this at Focus, like I feel like I have like a really strong connection with God, but it's like different than everyone else. It's like me talking, you know, out loud in my room. Like I feel like I'm talking to him, and whatever I talk about, like it, you know, like it happens. And I'm like, you know, that's not luck, that's not chance. Like I know who that is. Like it's the man above. So, you know, after like I started seeing those signs, I was like, yeah, like he's listening to everything, and you know, he's always gonna make a way. So after that, I was like, I gotta give my all to, you know, the man above. I gotta give my all in, because you know he would do the same thing for me, and he already did. So, really, I've just been, you know, just really, really deep in my faith, and just trying to spread that as well. Yeah.
There's a lot of those groups here at US, which I think is one of the special parts of it, is those groups where maybe it's something that might be uncomfortable to talk about, is religion or, you know, certain race affinity groups. What are you involved in here, and how has that kind of helped shape you?
Yeah, I'm in so Pembroke. It's African American you know, society for the boys here. And like I've been in that since middle school. And I think that was like my first so-called, you know, safe space for me, because, you know, I felt like my first couple of days of school here in the 6th grade, I felt alone. And I just felt like targeted in a way. And I didn't really like that. And then after I joined, you know, Pembroke and everything, and then Mr. Lifford and Mr. Hutch, like, you know, they always talk to me. After that, I was just like I have a safe space. Like no matter what happens, I have a group to go to. And obviously in high school, there's way more freedom, and there's way more opportunities to, you know, go and put yourself out there. So I wanted to join more groups. I've also been in, I'm in Mass Union, the mental health one. which obviously, like, I'm a very strong advocate for that. So I'm glad they have that in, male dominated, school. I'm the co-head of knitting club, which is something very new for me. But Mrs. Ellery, she's like my favorite teacher here. So she wanted me, Eric Monterey, and Alex Warren to be the co-heads of that. And we had one meeting. It was pretty nice, pretty calm. So it's always great to do something new. So yeah, I would say those are like my, for mental health. Pembroke, co-head of knitting club, and then Focus. Those are like my top 4, and I'm in a couple others. But I think just the idea of you being able to join other groups and really learn about more than just one thing, like more than just something that's relative to you, learning about everything is very important here. And the fact that the school has that is just amazing. So yeah.
One of the things that also kind of go with the club idea is sports, right? Sports is a big part. We're required to play a sport, so it's a big part of like everything we do. I know we talked about football, and you kind of talked a little bit about throwing with track and field.
Yeah.
What are some of the sports that you've done while at US, and what have they taught you?
So in middle school, I did swimming for a period of time. I wanted to lose weight, and I knew I used to swim. I think when I turned 4, I started swimming, and I quit when I was like 12. So I swam for like a pretty long time, and I kind of wanted to do it again in middle school. And swimming is a very hard sport. It's a lot of conditioning. It's a full body workout, and that just taught me to push through everything. Just never stop churning. And obviously, I've been in football since the 5th and 6th grade tackling program with Coach Mabasa. In football, I would say that's really the sport that, in a way, kind of like toughened me up and really helped me, find myself and like find a way to channel like all the emotions I have, And then track, I've been kind of in and out of track. I don't really count that as a sport, but I did do it for like 2 years. The environment that track brings is really like, it's one of a kind. Like, football is obviously like a great sport, but track, just the group of guys that are always there every year, it's always a fun experience. No matter how hard the workouts are, they're going through it with you. And, we'd love to have that here. So, yeah.
That brotherhood that you talk about in some of those sports, have you felt like that's different than other places you've been around?
Oh, I would say, yeah, definitely. I think this whole school is a brotherhood. And I think my sophomore year is kind of like when we really started talking about brotherhood more, because our sophomore year, like our sports were very, very nice. My sophomore year, and it carried on to now. And I know our senior class as a whole, we really wanted to spark that brotherhood, like again, really get that moving and going around the school. And so far, it's been a little, iffy, but I know, our senior class and underclass will pull through and really, finish this year strong and really feel like brothers. I just wanted to go out with a bang my senior year, and I want, to be able to call everyone in the school my brothers, and we're pretty close to that. So yeah.
Do you think you've had like a lot of legacy building moments throughout high school, and do you think you've built a legacy where years down someone's gonna say, "Yeah, I remember Chris, like because this and this, and yeah, he did something"?
Oh yeah, for sure, no doubt about it. I know this year is definitely my strongest year for that. I have like teachers that I didn't even know knew me, and I barely knew. They come up to me, send me emails, telling me great speech, great this, and like it really means a lot because I, in the middle school, I felt that I was in a way like undervalued, but also like I wasn't really seen. So to be seen now, like my final year here, just to be seen by everyone that I wanted, to be seen by, it's just really great. And I think my legacy here is definitely, been one of a kind, and I hope to, continue it. We're just starting. I'm gonna hope to continue it. And I kind of learned that. I'm not gonna say his name, but a kid on the football team, his mom was talking to my mom one day at this dinner we were having. And she was like, "Oh, like you're Cris Shemo's mom?" And my mom was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Yeah, like our son talks about, Chris at our dinner table all the time." And I was like, my mom told me that, and I was just like, wow. Like, I think what I did is I shouted the kid out at practice because he had a really good practice. And, he went and told his parents about that at the dinner table. Like, that just, that meant a lot to me. Just like one simple act like that, he had a good practice, and, it really meant a lot to him. So I just hope I can do that for everyone here. I hope everyone can think of Cris Shemo and go, yeah, that's a kid I loved. I loved him. And so far it's been pretty good.
What do you think? I know this is kind of off topic of that legacy, but have you kind of liked that house system? I mean, obviously you've been around it since middle school. Do you have any like changes or something as a school, maybe in general, or just changes in the house system? Like, what do you think the school needs to improve?
I think the house systems, I would say it was very popular in middle school. Middle school, I think we like, our house lunches every Friday. I feel like we had more house activities. Like in middle school, it was very like a big part of our school. But then the high school is kind of, we just had Founders Day and, some community service things for our houses. But I feel like we need to like really bring that back, because I feel like high school is where like we really make memories with our friends and like we really find out who we want to carry in the future with us. And now our system is like the perfect time to do that, because we have, kids, a lot of kids in one thing. Like, we have 10 houses, but we have a lot of kids in one house, and that's just an opportunity to meet younger kids and kids, in your grade. And I feel like we should just really emphasize more on the house system. It's like more activities, maybe house lunches, every Friday like we did in middle school. Like just things like that really meant a lot to me in the middle school, and I feel like it'll mean a lot to, the upper school this year. So,
Yeah. Your journey is definitely, you talk about it as one that's strengthened you to this point. But if you could go back and tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
Stop procrastinating. I think that was my downfall a little bit in like my sophomore year. I kind of got a little behind in school, but like me procrastinating was like the biggest thing. I would just go home and go on my phone, and next thing you know, it's 8 o'clock, and I'm like, all right, I'll do this at 11. And I'm asleep. Like it's just procrastination is definitely like the biggest thing. So I would just tell myself to really just go home, put my phone in the drawer, and do your work, and then have fun after. Like that, I would say that's like my biggest what if moment right there. Yeah. What if I just put my phone in the drawer?
Well, to wrap it up, one of the things that I think is really interesting is just that growth, as Jack was talking about. What would you say really pushes you and makes you get out of bed in the morning and just pushes you through the hard times and makes you go one step further? I think the question that we always talk about is, what is your why?
My why is definitely my mother. I was raised by a single mother, and my father was very very absent in my life, and really all I had was her and my grandmother. But I'm just talking about my mom for now. Everything she did, all the sacrifices she made, for me to be here and to be in this position, like it's all credit to her and the man above. So my why is really just to make her life easier. Everything she did for me, like she went through hell and back. So I want to make sure when I make it, that her life is as easy as mine was in a way. So she's my why. No matter what, she's my why. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool. Thank you so much, Chris.
Of course.
For such a great interview with so many like great stories and insights. And thank you so much for tuning in. And we hope you'll join us next Wednesday for another episode of The Late Start Show. Thanks,
Yep,
Chris.
of course.